The phenomenally successful show Dallas was loosely based on the movie Giant and went on to become one of television's longest-running hour series and created the genre of primetime soap.
When we started off, we were all evil. Everybody had a bad thing going for them, and they went with it, which was kind of different in those days, you know. And the whole story was about Victoria and Patrick Duffy being the Montagues and the Capulets, kind of Romeo and Juliet's theme. The girl from the wrong side of the tracks.
I thought that this was a really great role. Here was a very complicated, very interesting, very fiery woman who had a character arc in as much as that there would always be this struggle to fit in with people who were born to something that she didn't know. They knew the rules, she didn't. And that called my name.
Most immediately impressive visual image that I can remember getting from anybody that I've ever worked with. She went to the meeting as the person she knew she was going to play.
In the very beginning, unlike the end when Pam was utterly and totally good, Pam was going with Ray, Steve Kanaly, and they had been having an affair for quite some time, and Ray wanted to marry Pam, and he invited her to the Ewing barbecue.
And unbeknownst to Ray, she's met Bobby Ewing there. And something develops that nobody knows about, and ultimately they show up in the first episode, in the very first few scenes, married. So things start to cook at that point.
The first scene of that episode was Victoria and I driving in my little red convertible across the frozen flatlands of Texas as I'm bringing her home to the Ewing family after having married her that no one knew.
Your folks are gonna throw me right off that ranch.
Relax, honey. You're my wife now. You're family. You are a Ewing. And once that sinks in, they're gonna love you like I do.
Before it sinks in is what worries me.
Relax, sweetheart. Everything's gonna be fine.
If you say so, Bobby.
I say so.
And I felt that we were the cutest couple in television at that moment. When I looked at that and I said, that's a relationship that needs to last for a while.
She was the daughter of Digger Barnes, who was the guy I really didn't like. And he had been in partnership with my daddy, and my daddy had a long-standing feud with him. And so I thought she was trash, and treated her like trash. Nice to her face, of course, you know, except when I got her alone, and then I let her have it.
So Ray gets Pamela to go in the helicopter with him, takes her out on a tour of the ranch, takes her to this lake, jumps in the water, gets her wet, takes her up to the line shack where he will compromise her for JR to bring Bobby out and discover this situation, and that'll be the end of the marriage. So without telling Victoria, she doesn't really have a full concept of what's going to happen. I say, I still love you and it's not too late, and I pick her up and there's this wonderful romantic scene, and then I just leap off the end of this pier into the water.
And I developed a small case of hypothermia.
She was a real trooper because she was literally shaking like this, couldn't hardly say the lines.
Once again, Victoria was a real sport. She never complained once. I don't know if I could get her to do it today or not. I don't know if I would do it today.
The cast kept things loose with practical jokes masterminded by Patrick Duffy and head troublemaker Larry Hagman.
Larry Hagman was the first king of the world, and he set the tone on the set. He defined our behavior, and he was a wonderful role model.
We played all kinds of things, you know, food fights on the set and during filming. They said, Larry, cut. Larry, we can't use any of that stuff. And I said, well, lighten up. It's only television.
The majority of the jokes between Larry and Patrick were on each other in the beginning, and then as they became more generous and the jokes grew larger, we all became participants in these jokes. I would say the majority of Patrick's jokes I was the butt of. I was Patrick's butt of choice.
Well, there's two ways you can look at that, and both are true.
I wonder if he will tell you about some of the love-making scenes, because that was when he most loved to torture me.
Oh, Victoria and I had more fun in bed. I took more kitchen appliances to bed with me when we had love scenes. It was unbelievable.
He would turn them into some awful practical joke.
But she laughed longer and louder than almost anybody, which made me feel great.
Dallas was an enormous hit, popular with male and female viewers alike. Victoria had fame and recognition, but her personal life hadn't quite hit the same stride.
There were things that I was successful at, but long-term relationships were not one of them. And I felt that it was really not my destiny to have a long-term relationship, and marriage really didn't interest me.
Her romance with recording star Andy Gibb and his untimely death had a profound effect on Victoria.
I had met someone, and I had had a relationship which was life-changing, because I met someone who was the kindest, most honest, and dearest person I'd ever met in my life. And though I lost him in a rather tragic manner, the impact he had upon my life was extraordinary. And it made me more open to opening myself up to someone.
Over the course of the 1980s, while she was on Dallas, Victoria Principal was a popular spokesperson as well as author, writing 3 very successful books on beauty and fitness.
I'm not perfect. I don't always do the right thing. I don't always eat the right thing, but I try hard, and I enjoy my life, and I've had good health as a result of living this way.
In 1989, Victoria felt she wanted to move beyond the role of Pam, and after 9 seasons, she left Dallas.
First 5 years of Dallas were extraordinary. It was great television. I loved it. I was so proud. It was more interesting to me before Pam was utterly good, but I absolutely understood as a businesswoman why it was important that the formula was working, that if you had utter evil, you had to have utter good.
It wasn't the easiest part in the world to do. She was a good person on the show, and it's much easier to be a bad person.
We were sorry that she was leaving, but this is what Victoria wanted to do. So she generally does what she wants to do.
It was about my self-respect and about my future. And I was offered the most money any woman had ever been offered in television on a series per episode to stay. And I couldn't imagine. I just couldn't imagine staying. I must tell you, it was pretty terrifying. In Hollywood standards, 37 is very mature.
Victoria re-emerged in an event television movie, Mistress, on CBS, executive produced by Richard Fishoff and former mentor Sherry Lansing. It was a juicy part, and to get it, Victoria had to overcome her good girl image. Mistress
was a part I really, really wanted. In fact, lives were in danger if I didn't get it. That's a joke, but maybe on the square. And I played an aging actress whose options had run out and who chooses a much different life path than my own. To leave Dallas and make Mistress was such an affirmation of my desire to be a better actress, to try my wings, to follow a destiny that I felt that was out there for me, that my life was not going to be about one note, that I wasn't a one-trick pony. And making Mistress was just a dream.